All right, in this final lesson, we're going to talk about how to roll out a discipleship culture in your church. Now, we've already talked about the vision of an Ephesians 4 church. The church that Jesus envisioned is one where people aren't just coming to your church to consume off of preaching or great worship, but they actually want to be disciple makers. And we talked about how your partner page at PursueGOD.org can help you to do just that. So finally, we're going to make sure that you know the practical, simple steps for rolling out this strategy in your church. And it really needs to be a virus, not a bomb. What I mean by that is don't just go to the pulpit and start preaching about disciple making and even about PursueGOD.org, because it's not going to work. You need to slowly spread the virus, starting with your list, we call this your first wave of mentors, and make sure that you finish the job with everyone that you're discipling. So we're going to just review the process, and then we're going to talk about how to build your list and send an invite. Let's talk about the process once again. We talked about this in lesson 1. You engage people with a category page. And again, we recommend using your church's partner page as kind of the default starting point. Number 2, you establish them with the Pursuit, that 12-week discipleship track. And then number 3, you empower the people on your list to go do the same. And this is the viral method. See, you're spreading a virus through a few people that you disciple, and then eventually they'll be doing the same thing. Paul talked about this in 2 Timothy 2:2. He said to his protege, Timothy, he said, "You have heard me teach things that have been confirmed by many reliable witnesses. Now teach these truths to other trustworthy people who will be able to pass them on to others." Notice, Paul is not saying, hey, you do something I've never done. Paul is saying, look, I discipled you. Now you disciple someone else who's going to disciple someone else, and on down the line it goes. This is generational disciple making, and this is what you can do with the Pursue God tools in your church. So engage, establish, and empower. So let's talk about your list. You want to make a list of people who are faithful and teachable, and start praying for God to open the door to a mentoring relationship with them. So your list, as you prayerfully consider this, might be obviously your kids, if you have some kids at home, your wife, some of your elders. Maybe there are some people in your church that God has given you a heart for that you want to start discipling in a reproducible way. And notice I said they should be faithful and teachable. It has nothing to do with how much Bible knowledge they have. Consider Jesus' example in Matthew 4. He called out to fishermen, not Pharisees, fishermen. And he said, "Come follow me and I'll show you how to fish for people." They left their nets at once and followed him. It's interesting that Jesus didn't choose Pharisees. You'd think that in some churches that's who we would choose, right? The people who already know a lot about the Bible. Now, I'm not saying Bible knowledge is a disqualifier. It's not. But the key thing is, the people that you're going to invest in need to be people who are faithful and teachable, and they will go invest in someone else. If they're only interested in Bible studies and Bible knowledge, then I wouldn't put that person on your list. Make sure it's people who are willing to love people and invest in others. So once you've built your list, then you just simply send an invite. Pick a category that would engage someone on your list. Again, it's most likely going to be your partner page from your church, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's addiction or marriage or investigating faith or theology, whatever. Pick a category that would engage someone. Send out a link to the category page with a simple invitation to talk. Now, you might also want to just pick a topic for your first conversation from that category page and say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's meet for coffee and let's have a conversation. So then you start engaging them, and eventually you move into the pursuit to establish them, and then you're ready to empower them. Now look, this is what Philip did in Acts chapter 8. The Holy Spirit said to Philip, go over and walk alongside the carriage where the Ethiopian eunuch was reading the Old Testament. Philip ran over. He heard the man reading from the prophet Isaiah, and Philip just simply said this. I love this. Do you understand what you are reading? You see what Philip's doing? He's engaging him in a conversation, starting with something he's already interested in. And now Philip's going to walk with him and eventually explain the gospel to him. And of course, we all know the eunuch ends up getting saved, and the movement of God is brought to Ethiopia through that eunuch. So this is how you roll out a discipleship culture in your church. It needs to be a virus, not a bomb. Start with your list, the first wave, and be sure to finish the job with the people on that list. And then the process will take care of itself. Because if you're bringing everyone through the pursuit, eventually now you're releasing people, you're empowering them to help the next person pursue God. That is how you launch a discipleship culture in your church. Again, use those questions down below to talk about your rollout at your church, and then start helping people pursue God.